Good morning, y'all. It is Thursday, the 23rd. Sorry, I was looking at my calendar. 23rd of January, 2025. We are almost done with January. Good grief. So fast. Just time is fast and marching on and on and on and on and on. Can't stop time. It's going to happen. They ain't figured that out, and they'll never figure out how to stop time. The only one that can stop time is God. And that's in heaven, there is no time. There's no semblance of time. There's no knowledge of time. There's just God and heaven and Christ and us. But here on earth, there is time. And for 3.5 years in the future, there's going to be a time of judgment on this earth. The Antichrist will be here reigning and ruling, and God will be pouring out judgments from heaven during that time. Moses and Elijah will be here. At the end of it, the Antichrist kills Moses and Elijah, and for 3.5 days, their body lies in the street. And then they rise, and then they are caught up at the end of the tribulation. Christ calls them up, and he calls all the other unsaved, or sorry, the other believers from the tribulation go up. And then shortly after that, they come back down. It's kind of a weird thing. I don't fully understand that whole Old Testament or the tribulation saints going up and Moses and Elijah going up. I just believe the Bible. It's there that God does this. I do want to show you something before we get to the unsaved dead at the White Throne Judgment. There's a popular misteaching, and it's used to be taught among Bible believers. Matthew 20, what is it here? 24. Matthew 24. And go to there. Matthew 24. To find it here. Matthew 24. Something I want to show you. I have to find it. Eagles show up in the tribulation, or at the end of the tribulation. They're there during the tribulation, but eagles, and y'all know, if you know me, you know I like eagles. Let me find something in particular. They're at Matthew 24 and start around start in verse 23. There then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not, for there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch as if it were possible they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wherever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. So at the end of the tribulation, there is a type of kind of rapture, but it's not. It's not actually a rapture. That's the weird thing. Something else happens. Jump over to verse 32. Now learn a parable of the fig tree when his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves. Ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at thy doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. What generation? We look at it to the generation that saw Israel become a nation, that they're going to see all these things be fulfilled. Quite possible, because that generation is reaching the end of their life. Some of them have already started to pass away, but the nation, or the generation that sees Israel become a nation, that's 1948, will, prophetically speaking, is highly likely going to be the generation that sees Christ come back. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. You notice this passage doesn't say the Son. That's another thing. But as the days of Noe were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So what was happening in the days of Noah? Look, for as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noe entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also be the coming of the Son of Man be. Now we're going to put scripture with scripture in context. What comes next, people talk about an end of tribulation rapture of believers at the end of the rapture, but that's not in context what this is. Okay? Remember, he just said, as in the days of Noah, what was happening? You had the sons of God marrying the daughters of men. These half God, half men creatures were being born. Men of old, men of renown, mighty men. They were giants, very powerful. And they actually made it through the flood somehow because they started showing up again in David's time with Goliath and his 4 brothers, sons of Anak. So we know that they somehow made it through the flood. Most likely they made it through the flood through Ham. Ham was the father of the African nations. And the Philistines had giants among them, Goliath being one of them. And the Philistines were actually descendants of Ham. Okay? So we got to put this in context. So somehow they came through. But they were also marrying, giving in marriage. They were doing all the drinking, being stupid, being wild. And what happened? Well, God judged the earth and God flooded it. And he carried the lost away. And the only ones that lived were Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their 3 wives were the only ones that survived the flood. Everyone else was carried away. So comparing scripture with scripture in context, if we look at this end of Matthew 24, this cannot be a rapture of good people. People that lived, believers that lived through the tribulation. It's not. Why? We keep it in context. Then shall be 2 in the field. The one shall be taken and the other left. The one left would be the good person. 2 women shall be grinding at the mill. The one shall be taken and the other left. The good person is the one left. The bad person is the one taken away. Give it in context because he was talking about the days of Noah. How that, what happened? They were carried away in the flood. Now, this is some deeper stuff you might not have heard before. A lot of people, even some Bible believers, never really put this together. They talked about this being a rapture. No, this is the lost people, the wicked people at the end of the tribulation are carried away. Why? We go back to verse 28. For wheresoever the carcass is, there shall be the eagles gathered together. Now go to Luke chapter 21. Luke 21. We may not get to the resurrection of the dead at the white throne judgment, but Revelation 21, or sorry, Luke chapter 21. Luke 21. I'm sorry, Luke 17. Luke 17, not 21. Luke 17. Luke is not in chronological order in a lot of points. That's something I didn't realize before, but there's some of things that Christ talks about in Luke chapter, or in Luke, that are not chronological order. So Luke chapter 17, and look at verse 22. And he said unto the disciples, the days will come, Luke 17, verses 22. The days will come when ye shall desire to see one of the days of the Son of Man, and ye shall not see. And they shall say to you, see here or see there, go not after them, nor follow them. For as the lightning that shineth, or lighteneth, that lighteneth out of the one part under heaven, shineth under the other part under heaven, so likewise, so also the Son of Man be in his day. But first must he suffer many things and be rejected of this generation. And as it was in the days of Noe, so shall it also be in the The days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise, also as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. What was going? Now let's look for it. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. This is same that's going to happen in the tribulation. Elijah calls down fire. In fact, right before they're killed, they call down fire and kill people that are belittling them and persecuting. It's crazy. But what was happening in Lot's day? You had marrying and given in marriage, but you also had very immoral and evil sexual behavior during that time, where men were going after men, women were going after women. And we know that because if you read the account when the angels came down to get Lot out, what happened? The men of Sodom came over and they wanted to know those angels. They wanted to get to know them. And in the Bible, that term know them in the Old Testament, when it talked about it, it was talking about intimate relations. That's what it was. So these men of Sodom were very wicked and they wanted to do something to those angels. If you want to get really more in depth, read what happened with Noah and Ham. Anyway. But in the same day that the Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day, he which shall be up on the housetop and his stuff and the house, let him not come down to take it away. And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back. They got to run. They got to get away. Remember Lot's wife. What happened to Lot's wife? She looked back, got caught up in the world, and she got destroyed. Whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. Now look, this is the same thing. It's the same thing he was talking about there in Matthew 24. I tell you, in that night there shall be two men in one bed. The one shall be taken and the other left. The one shall be taken. Evil person. Well, two men in one bed, that's kind of, anyway. Two women shall be grinding together. The one shall be taken and the other left. Two men shall be in the field. The one shall be taken and the other left. And they answered and said unto him, Where, Lord? And he said unto them, Wheresoever the body is, there will the eagles be gathered together. So their dead body, their dead carcass, they are killed. They're alive, but somehow they get swept away and they're killed. And their bodies are taken out and the eagles gather together on them. So compare scripture with scripture and you put all this in context. Those two passages are not a picture of a rapture. That's not the rapture of the tribulation saints. That's not what that is. In these two passages, Matthew 24 and Matthew 7 or Luke chapter 17. This is a carrying away of wicked people at the end of the tribulation. And they're killed. So comparing scripture with scripture at the end of the tribulation, even, some wild things are going to happen. It may be that these eagles come through and carry them out and kill them. I don't know. But the fact that Christ very distinctly said where the body is, where the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. These people that were taken away at the end of the tribulation, these were not raptured. These were killed for their wickedness. Anyway, just a little deep nugget. We didn't even get into the rapture of the resurrection of the unsaved dead. We will do that tomorrow. It's just some wild stuff, folks. Some absolutely wild things that are going to happen in the near future if the Lord does not tarry his coming. All right, that's all I got for you. Questions, comments, concerns, just you can message me here if you're watching this on Facebook Live. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can always go to my website, brokenroadjourney.com, and there you'll find a way to contact me. Questions, comments, prayer requests, concerns, just leave them that way. So that's all I got for you. God bless. Talk to you tomorrow.